Tonight, Bitcoin in the spotlight, and so is Coinbase because it is about to join the S&P.
That's right, Scott. Ending the day up a whopping 25% here on that news that it's joining the S&P 500 next Monday. It'll be replacing Discover Financial, and Coinbase is pacing for its best day now since November 6th, and it has erased its year-to-date losses with that rally. Analysts today cheering the stock's big upside potential, saying shares will benefit from passive inflows into funds tracking the index. Oppenheimer's Owen Lau has been calling this moment as a key catalyst to watch for months now, said today that the lack of institutional ownership of Coinbase thus far has been part of the bear thesis for that name, but has now become more of a strong tailwind, and he raised his price target on the shares. Just a few months ago, Scott, this company was in an intense litigation with the SEC. That, of course, was dropped by the agency when the Trump administration moved in, just 4 years after it went public through a direct listing. So a huge feat for the company and the industry at large.
China is hosting its own confab in Beijing. President Xi meeting with senior leaders from about 30 countries across Latin America and the Caribbean. China is LATAM's second biggest trading partner, and Latin America is the biggest destination for Chinese outbound investment outside of Asia, with total trade between the two now exceeding $500 billion. Eunice Yoon is live in Beijing with more. Eunice, what are they hoping comes out of this?
Well, they're hoping to be able to buy a whole lot more from Latin America. While the U.S. and China are engaged in a trade war, President Xi Jinping has been proactively developing relationships to be able to continue to diversify away from the United States. This week, he was rolling out the red carpet for the Brazilian president, Lula da Silva. Da Silva has been here for 4 days, and the two signed several agreements, essentially allowing China to invest more there in order to buy more products from Brazil. So these deals allow China to invest in mining, export infrastructure, ports. They're going to cooperate in AI, including around ports. And they also agreed to a 5-year, $157 billion currency swap agreement to facilitate some of that trade. Chinese private companies also committed money, $4.5 billion. This would help them to expand capacity in car factories, chip factories. They pledged purchases in biofuel, agricultural products such as coffee and fruit. And then President Xi, on the geopolitical front, he was headlining that event with the Caribbean nations as well as the Latin American nations, and said that they needed to all stand united in this trade war. And Kelly, he offered a bunch of goodies there too, saying food and agricultural purchases would be shored up. He committed to a $10 billion credit line. Of course, this is in yuan, in order to make sure that they're doing the business with China, and also a visa-free policy for 5 nations. This is just going to be the first batch, they said, and it would just continue to open up that trade between the two sides. What I think, though, also, Kelly, was interesting is that Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, has been talking up the 2020 trade deal, saying that the Trump administration wants to go back to that. And if you remember at that time, China pledged to buy about $200 billion more of U.S. goods, agricultural purchases, over 2 years. That didn't really happen in the way that the U.S. had hoped. But it looks as though China might not even want that to happen even more. What was interesting is just over the weekend, state TV had been talking up the idea that China proactively is making efforts to be able to find alternatives to the United States. And they even made a comparison saying that back in 2016, the U.S. was the biggest supplier for soybeans. And just a short 8 years later, they say, it's now Brazil.
I'm so glad you highlighted that. I thought exactly that these were the products that the first trade deal was supposed to center around. Here are the Chinese striking those deals with Brazil instead, and they've supplanted us in many ways, making the idea of a second deal all that much more difficult. Eunice, thanks.
Go back to something you said a little bit earlier. This notion that it's hard to see whether this is a one-time hit to inflation or whether it's more persistent. Ultimately, what do you think?
I mean, ultimately, any effort to force manufacturing back onshore into the United States is going to be inflationary. There's no doubt about it. And what frustrates me on this is that one of the reasons that Trump won the election was the American people had had enough inflation. They wanted a break from seeing their standard of living deteriorated by the ever-increasing price of goods and services. And so I really do think that the president needs to think long and hard about the necessity of helping to protect the standard of living of the American people by keeping the inflation, like, it's not a genie, it's like the inflation devil in the bottle.
It's like you have doubts that the American economy can be easily transitioned into a manufacturing one. What are the chances of making that work? And do you think that it's a realistic goal?
I mean, look, there's a great video clip from Dave Chappelle, and it goes something like, Americans want to wear Nikes, not make Nikes. And I think he's spot on. I don't understand why we think it's a virtue to bring back to America low-skilled jobs in manufacturing. I completely agree with the president. We need the ability to ramp up our manufacturing base to strengthen our national defense. Spot on right. But I don't think the American people are looking for a return to low-skill, low-paying manufacturing jobs in our country. I don't think they want those jobs. I think they want jobs where we are building high-value-added products, successful businesses building high-value-added products where you can create jobs in that factory floor that are well-paying jobs. Those are the jobs we should aspire to create in our country, not jobs that right now China is actually trying to move to other, even lower-cost labor countries. Why do we want those jobs here in America?
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. Also, go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And this is going to be one of the best videos I've done all year so far, because we see the chess pieces being moved. We see Trump over in Saudi Arabia. We see Xi over in Latin America. Guys, the supply chain is changing. The dollar is changing. But first, we have Coinbase was under pressure by the SEC. Trump gets into office. SEC goes away. And now in the S&P 500. And what do I teach you guys? Follow the money. But stocks will definitely pull back. But if you're a trader, take advantage of the pump and dump. But you can't make this stuff up. Gary Gensler, the SEC, put pressure all over crypto. So therefore, they can kick the regulation can down the road. Now it's time for regulation. And all of a sudden, everything's open to crypto. We have more crypto companies coming on to the stock market. Guys, this is unbelievable. And speaking of unbelievable, we have China meeting with 30 countries in Latin America and Caribbean, moving away from America. China making goods for America. Guys, that is over. And they pulled one of the greatest schemes yesterday, pumped the stock market for the sheep, which we know is going to eventually pull back again. But the fact is, that was one of the most genius moves yesterday. Oh, China and America has come up with a deal, and then the next day, what are they doing? They're moving right along with the plan. This is definitely evil genius. We have China making moves with these countries to replace the United States. Xi told them we need to be united against the U.S. and this trade war. Guys, you can't make this stuff up. They know the sheep stay distracted on things that don't matter, and the people who do care, they're busy working, taking care of their kids. But the fact is, guys, you definitely need to tell the people to wake up, send them to this channel, so therefore they can get themselves prepared. And we have Ken Griffin playing the Hegelian dialectic, but telling us the truth. Of course, he's at Citadel, the hedge fund guy. Says that bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. doesn't make any sense. And we know that's the Hegelian dialectic part, because we know why manufacturing is coming back to the United States, because they know the machines are going to be doing the work. Very few people are going to be working there, but he's right about that. You don't want to be working there. You don't want that job. The machines are going to be telling you what to do. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have Microsoft laying off, and we know these layoffs keep coming, bankruptcies keep coming. When it comes to the consumer, we have delinquencies at the highest in history. Guys, you definitely cannot make this stuff up, but the sheep are going to continue on spending. And we have Chime is filing for IPO. Make sure you keep an eye on that and follow the money. And we have President Trump takes the U.S. sanctions off of Syria after they get the puppet in office. And we know the Middle East is being turned upside down. And we have Senator Ted Cruz wants to give 1,000 to every baby. And we know why. Because the fact is Social Security won't be there. We also know the standard of living for Americans is going to drop. And universal basic income can only last but for so long. And Ted Cruz says it's 401ks for the kids. And eventually they will make this happen. This may not get approved this year, next year. Eventually this is going to happen because you have to bring back financial literacy. And this is one way to start it. But guys, what do I always tell you? Do not allow the government to educate your kids. Educate your kids yourself. Because the government is going to make sure you fall on the wrong side of history. And we know if you rely on them to feed you, they're definitely going to starve you. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. Because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Yeah, Mike, Microsoft tells us it's laying off 3% of its global workforce. This is across all geographies and all levels of employment. This appears to be its largest cuts since early 2023, when it laid off 10,000 employees. Based on the last count of employees that we have, this would be about 6,000 employees with these global cuts. As for why this is happening, Microsoft tells us in a statement, we continue to implement organizational changes necessary to best position the company for success in a dynamic marketplace.
Hey, Morgan, that window seems to be opening a little bit wider with Chime filing its S1 today. That was one that had filed confidentially toward the end of last year. It was in kind of that cohort of prospective IPOs that put things on pause as the markets tumbled. And now, given just the upswing we've seen in the last few weeks, we're seeing some more of these make progress on their debut. So Chime's S1, Morgan Stanley is leading this along with Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan. They are intending to list with 3 classes of stock. We can assume that a large portion of that will be held, although that part is blank in this S1, by the co-founder and CEO. It implies that in the filing here. They plan to list on the NASDAQ under the symbol CHYM.
First steps toward restoring normal relations between the United States and Syria for the first time in more than a decade. And I'm very pleased to announce that Secretary Marco Rubio will be meeting with the new Syrian foreign minister in Turkey later this week. And very importantly, after discussing the situation in Syria with the Crown Prince, your Crown Prince, and also with President Erdogan of Turkey, who called me the other day and asked for a very similar thing, among others, and friends of mine, people that I have a lot of respect for in the Middle East. I will be ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria in order to give them a chance at greatness.
They're spearheading an effort to establish a universal savings account for every American starting at birth. Joining us right now is Senator Ted Cruz of Texas. He's the chairman of the Commerce Committee. Also, Brad Gerstner, founder and CEO of Alternative Capital. Good morning to both of you gentlemen, but I want to start with the senator, if I could. We've talked about this with Brad, and I believe we actually talked about it with you as well, Senator. This is now past a new step. Where are we in this? How's it going to work? How much is it going to cost the American public? And how much are young kids, hopefully when they get old, going to get from it all?
Right. Well, this is a very exciting initiative that is moving forward because the House Ways and Means Committee just yesterday released the initial draft of their tax bill, and they included within it the idea, Invest America, that Brad has been working on for years, that Brad and I together have spent over a year working very hard to push it forward. The idea is simple, which is that we're going to create an investment account for every newborn child in America at birth. And that investment account, the federal government will seed with $1,000, but that account can receive every year up to $5,000 in contributions from friends and family members and from employers. And those contributions grow on a tax-deferred basis, and they can take it out after they turn 18. What it does is it takes every child in America and it gives them, number one, the miracle of compound growth, the ability to accumulate wealth, which is transformational. But number two, it makes them stakeholders. It gives them a stake in the American free enterprise system. And you asked how much they can save. If you have a baby that is born this year that starts with the initial $1,000 seed contribution over the next 18 years, if $5,000 a year is contributed at 7% growth, by the time they're 18, they have $170,000 in this account. By the time they're 35, they have $700,000 in the account. So I believe this will be a transformational policy. It's something Brad has built a big community of leaders throughout the business community who are enthusiastically supporting it. I've been pitching it to my colleagues in the Senate, my colleagues in the House, to the president, and I think we're going to get it done. And yesterday's House bill was a big, big step forward.
Long term, this would change potentially even Social Security.
I don't know. It is obviously not aimed at the end of life. It's not aimed at retirees. It's aimed at babies. It's aimed at children. And the way you pitched it, Andrew, is the right way to think about it. It's a 401k for kids. And think about how 401ks have changed our society. One of the really powerful things is I think a lot of employers, when this is passed, will find it a very attractive benefit to give to their employees to say, hey, we're going to match your contributions to these investment accounts for your kids, or we're even going to seed them, just like they do with 401ks. And so I think the impact, look, by the time a newborn child is on Social Security, all of us likely will be dead. We'll let a Congress 70 years from now worry about that. What I'm interested in is giving these kids the ability to climb the economic ladder much, much faster, to accumulate wealth. And I think there's a real power to making them investors and stakeholders in the economy, so that a 10-year-old can pull out an app on his phone and say, hey, look, I own $50 worth of Apple. I own $75 worth of Boeing. I own $30 of McDonald's. I go into a McDonald's. I'm an owner of McDonald's. That changes, I think, a young person's attitude when they're a stakeholder in our free market system.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, well, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we can have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting at more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a Treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Sierra, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Drama Team save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Drama Team save New York from COVID 33. Part 3. King Joshua and Drama Team goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.